Welcome back to Kingkade and Kelly, News Talk 770. We're going to connect in a few minutes here with a fella whose name is Ian Tootill. I'll clarify his last name to make sure I'm not mispronouncing it for you. But he put together a really good YouTube video about speeding vehicles. And it's called Speed Kills Your Pocketbook. And it is an assault. This video is an assault on the so-called facts that surround how fast people go in their cars and what happens to people who drive quickly. We've just tweeted it. It's 15 minutes long. We'll speak to... Well, let's get him on the phone right now. He's right here. Hi, Ian. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Hey, thanks for coming on with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
This should be, by the way, just so you know, we won't dwell on this, but this should be Academy Award nominated.
I agree.
Far.
As a leadfoot, I agree. But I did learn, Ian, a lot by, I mean, you had some amazing facts in this video, so I thank you for that.
Well, first of all, I can't take credit for the video. The video was produced by a guy by the name of Chris Thompson, who produced a pro HST video that went viral in BC about 2 years ago. So I had seen the video that he did then, liked it, although I didn't necessarily agree with his position at the time. And I looked at some of the other work he'd done and realized that we were on the same wavelengths. And he's done a great job of taking a lot of complex information and you know, obviously lots of clips and, you know, made an entertaining yet educational, informative video out of it.
So, Ian, I used to live in Vancouver, so I know what you were talking about, and I bored all my colleagues with all the different locations that you were showing. I highlighted Southwest Marine Drive and why that minimum speed limit there should be 100. But anyway, what is it that you do, just to give us a bit of a credential for why we're talking to you?
What do I do personally?
Yeah, like what's your gig? What's your passion, sort of thing?
I actually have an investor relations consulting company.
Okay.
So I look after helping public companies do some work. My background in marketing and sales used to be in the financial services industry. So we formed this group called SENSE back in 1995 to fight the use of photo radar in BC, and we were successful in getting rid of it in 2001. And it was a group of individuals that got together and didn't like it, and we had a not-for-profit society for a while. That was disbanded in 2001. But we continued on as an information resource for media and other people and advocated things like keep right, accept to pass, better driver training, other issues on BC highways that we wanted to see fixed. Mm-hmm. And we also wanted to see correct setting of speed limits.
Okay, now, we'll get back to that in just a sec. And the last little dose of credence that I want to give to your video here for those who haven't seen it is this. I remember the day that they got rid of the photo radars in BC. We have them still here in Calgary. And that was a great day for us. Now, was your argument, did you do that annoying thing where you just load your argument up with facts that photo radar tickets don't stop speeders, and it just eventually got so annoying that they had to just get rid of them?
Well, we did load it up with facts originally, and that was our biggest mistake because the argument for photo radar was purely an emotional one, and it appealed to emotion to people originally, as the speed kills argument does as well, by the way. And really, most people don't give this kind of subject the time of day and think it through. So an emotional argument is one that really, really works well. So we didn't find a lot of, originally we didn't find a lot of success, I think, in arguing facts. I mean, we got some of the media to wake up and pay attention. Right. But it was hard to get the message out by using logic.
That's funny, because I was being facetious when I asked you that.
Okay. I didn't catch that.
No, but you have a different experience with it, which is pretty funny. So let's focus on this video here now. I'm of the contention that if it truly is incredibly dangerous to drive quickly, then the maximum speed a police car would go with lights and sirens wailing would be the posted speed limit. So it always seems to me that when a cop is speeding somewhere to get to an emergency, that they are demonstrating that, in fact, high speeds are possible, provided the driver is prepared to be driving at them. So what do you argue?
Well, but to play devil's advocate there, they're going to say, well, that's the reason that they've got emergency equipment and sirens, and that's the reason that cars all have to pull over. So my argument is that, speed needs to be argued in context. I use the argument with people that say just flat out that speed kills, that, if speed kills, absolutely, then nobody would fly by air. Air travel would be abolished, right?
Right.
So everything has to be put in context. We build high-speed highways, which are designed for speed. They have divided medians. There's limited access on and off the roads. There's rumble strips. There's wide medians. There's in BC, in the Coquihalla, you've got wildlife fences to keep things off the road. So this is designed, and large, long sight lines as well. So these are designed for speed. And when you build a road that's designed for speed, drivers, guess what, will drive faster. So we've got a road that runs through the interior of BC called the Coquihalla Highway. It's posted at 110. And my experience is people are generally driving 125 to 130 on it.
We're whipping you there. We've got one that runs between Calgary and Edmonton where people are usually doing 135.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Ontario for a while, and the Highway 400s are ridiculously hypocritical.
Right.
You've got speed limits of 100, and at that time I was there, 140 was the norm.
And so the idea is that as long as you're going with the flow of traffic, that is safer than a posted speed limit.
Right, and that's the methodology that is recommended by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, is that you set speed limits at the upper end of traffic flow to legitimize the travel speeds of up to 85% of the drivers. You're always going to have people that go a lot slower, and you're always going to have people that go a lot faster. But if you set the limit properly, people will tend to bunch up to the tip of the bell curve there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when you've got less variance between vehicles, generally you have less interactions, less opportunity for crashes.
Now, the video that you said earlier you didn't make, but that you certainly contributed to, is it's loaded with arguments that point out a lot of the fallacies in this whole speed kills thing.
Right.
Is the problem then that it just makes too much money? Like, are you arguing that speed limits are posted in such a way that they could police services and provinces can profit by them?
Well, they can, and revenue is a part of it, and governments can get addicted to revenue. Whether or not it actually produces a profit for them is something entirely different. But revenue provides the opportunity for empire building and justification of jobs. So that's my argument. I think that there are a lot of good people that do a lot of good work and believe what they're doing is right, and sometimes collective good intentions produce bad outcomes. Mm-hmm. And my argument is that that's the case in this situation.
The highlight of the film is... did you narrate it, by the way?
No, that's Chris.
Okay. The highlight of the film is when the narrator points out that that young person who crashed his car overnight, his life would have been saved if only he'd written more tickets for afternoon commuters.
It's funny you mention that, because that's my favorite part of the film as well. Mm-hmm. My biggest pet peeve over the last 15 years has been watching sensationalized news reports and shoddy reporting for over issues that have nothing to do with speed limits, and trying to make this have a conclusion that a street race or a late night alcohol fueled collision in black ice somewhere has anything to do with pulling people out of an afternoon commute and nicking them for doing 20 over. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, and to that media reporting aspect of this video too, it is interesting that for the most part the media works with duty officers or duty inspectors or spokespeople from the police service so frequently that the relationship becomes convivial and unquestioning. So,
right.
Which is not to suggest that the cops then abuse that privilege that they have, but it is just sort of to say that we've come to trust the uniform that tells us stuff,
right?
And we forget to do our due diligence there, where we would typically do it, with a vengeance with politicians at times. So,
well, it's funny you mention that, because one of the clips I really regret that we couldn't include in the video, or one of the pieces of the story that I wanted to put in there to try and illustrate it, but we just couldn't make it simple enough so that we could get it into the video, was a news story about some guys that were driving at excessive speeds and had their cars impounded over in Saanich. And I picked up on a tweet from the Saanich police that these guys had been nailed for racing. And I asked them several times, was it actually racing? Because when I looked at the location and I looked at the news story, something smelled fishy to me. So long story short, what had happened was the Saanich police had put out a news release saying that the cars were impounded for excessive. And when Check TV went out to go and film it, these guys were all on their way to a track, and they had numbers painted on their cars. So now all of a sudden it became a street race. So what were the Saanich PD doing? They were tweeting that these guys were nailed for street racing. So it's like they're all feeding off each other, right?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. That is funny. You're right. I can see how that would be complicated to squeeze in the video, but it's a good point. Well, Ian Tootill, we're going to let it go here. Thank you so much for coming on with Kingkade and Kelly this morning. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure now we're going to get a flood of phone calls at 974-8255 about people making suggestions of how which particular roads in Calgary should have the speed limits hiked.
Yeah.
And don't stop advocating for keep right, slower traffic, keep right. Keep right except the pass.
We're still on that, believe me.
And not enough people know. I don't know why.
I know. It should be the same on escalators, right? If you stand on the right. Let me get by.
It is, actually. People are pretty polite here on escalators. They do it. I don't know why they don't do it on roads.
See?
Getting better, though.
All right. Take care. Thanks for